What's up, everybody? This is a home scene interview with Mei Semones. My name is Hayden Fralin. Mei Semones has been releasing some incredible music since 2020 of her own, starting out in Boston, moving to New York, and now just traveling the globe and getting some really amazing traction and a really fun fan base, I would say. We're just a few days out from the release of her first full-length album, Animaru. So I just wanted to take the time to get your thoughts on how you're doing and hear about a little bit of your story that maybe I don't know yet. And yeah, you know full well that I just love your music so much, and I just appreciate you being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Sure. Yeah. Animaru just seems like just a whole new level, I would say, of you and your band really collaborating together and just pushing the limits in the ways that you all were already familiar with in the ways of jazz, bossa nova, classical with all the string elements, maybe a bit of J-pop influence, indie influence. And so for you, what does this album sort of represent in your growth in music?
I feel like for me, it's really just honing in on my songwriting style. I feel like the Kabuto Mushi EP has a lot of the same stuff. There's bossa and there's indie and math rock and whatever you want to call all of that. And then I feel like the album is just really pinpointing that in each song. For example, I'm feeling, I guess kind of has both samba and then indie rock in the choruses. But Toramoyo, for example, which is the third track on the album, is basically just kind of samba all the way through. And the next track is a math rock thing. So it's kind of just I don't know, I guess honing in on each of the styles and trying to put them all together in a way that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's so cool to listen to. It just feels like just this massive wall of sound coming with all these different influences peeking out at different moments and having their moments to shine track to track. So a lot of that has represented something I know you've talked about, which is your music taking on more of a collaborative feel with your bandmates, whereas before it was a lot more individualistic, writing on your own. And so I wanted to sort of take it back to the beginning of your sort of solo artist career, which happened in Boston at the Berklee School of Music. I'm really curious with Boston what the sort of role playing house shows did for you, because I know that was a lot of your first few gigs and just things you enjoyed. And yeah, for you, what did that sort of do for your starting out in music?
Yeah, I mean, I think just being at Berklee, being in Boston, I was surrounded by a lot of artists, you know? So I think that in itself was inspired me to be an artist. And then the house show scene specifically, I feel just really gives a space for people to, just play music, obviously, but in a low stress, it's not stressful, it's not high stakes or anything. So I feel you're able to really just play music that you want. You're not worried about you're not doing it for money at that point, obviously, because you're playing in a basement. But for that reason, I feel I was able to really just try stuff out and get used to performing. Because when I first started playing house shows in Boston, I had actually really almost never sang in front of people before. So that was kind of how I was getting used to doing that, was in house shows. Singing in front of people was a big step for me to overcome to be able to be an artist, I think.
Yeah, so cool. I'm definitely just so curious about your time at Berklee. I know you were just incredibly devoted to jazz guitar at that time and just took a deeper dive on some of your favorite artists of all time, like John Coltrane, Wes Montgomery, Charlie Parker. What was a day in the life at Berklee, and how locked in were you?
Yeah, I feel it depended on the day for sure. And throughout my time, I was there for 4 years, the full 4 years. And so I went through different phases during that. I don't know, I guess I remember especially during COVID, I was really focused on practicing just because I was at home in Michigan and you're just not able to see anyone, and I wanted to still feel I was being productive. So I think that was my most intense time of practicing. I was practicing sometimes 7 or 8 hours a day, which is I don't even know if that did anything. I think it did something. But I don't know, the content of what I was practicing, I probably could have been more efficient with it. But yeah, I guess, depending on the day. But sometimes it'd be a lot of practicing, sometimes it'd just be a lot of homework because I had to do liberal arts stuff too for my degree.
And what was it like there, taking that step in like forming your own band for the first time? Did you think you would do that, or did you think you would just be solo for a while?
Yeah, I think I always wanted to, but I didn't really end up forming my band, like, as we didn't really all start playing together until senior year. And that had a lot to do with, like, I got there when I was a freshman and then released my first song as a sophomore, and then like COVID happened, and so then we all were not together. And then I came back senior year, and like we were able to like play, like people were able to play in bands again and stuff. So yeah, I feel like that was, I don't know, such a big part of, I mean, it's become such a big part of my sound. Like each of my band members have contributed so much. Like to this day, I'm still, you know, I still write by myself in terms of like the chords and the lyrics and the melody, like the core of the song, you know. Like, and then once that's done, the whole structure is done, I bring it to my band and we arrange it from there. But I feel like that's really what sets the music apart, is like the arrangement and like their musicianship, I think, is what makes it really special.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Moving from Boston to New York, was that just like a no-brainer for you? And then what was it like your first few moments here? And what are just some like core memories you have of that time?
Yeah, it kind of just made sense for me to move here after Berklee because my sister, Saki, was already living here because she went to NYU. And so I was like, okay, we can live together easily. And then also just for music, I feel like it's New York or LA, you know, is where most people go. And I don't really see myself ever living in LA. Like, I like it there, it's fun, but I don't see myself like being there for an extended period of time. So yeah, it just made sense to move here. And when I first moved here, I started working at this Japanese preschool in Brooklyn, which I think you probably know already. But I did that full-time for a year and then part-time for another year. And I don't know, when I look back at that time, I'm like grateful for it, and I had a lot of fun like working with kids. I'd never done that before in my life, and like I learned that I actually really like children. But it was also extremely tiring to be working like, you know, a 10-hour shift, and then after that trying to work on music or trying to play a show or record. And so it was like kind of hard to fit everything into my schedule that I wanted to do. And so I did have a hard time at first, just like not having enough time to do music. Then gradually I was able to kind of like shift and start working at part-time, and then now I'm just doing music full-time, which I'm just really grateful to be able to do that, because like, yeah, that's just like a dream come true in itself, you know?
Yeah, so awesome. Yeah. How about in terms of like getting your first few shows here? Did you find it easy, or did you sort of prefer the more intimate shows in Boston? Just so, yeah, what was your experience like with your first few shows here?
Yeah, I think my first ever show that I played here was actually at LPR, open for this artist Strawberry guy, who's from Manchester, I think. And that was really fun. I mean, I remember when I first moved here, like, I was trying really hard to book a lot of shows, and that was just like a lot of cold emails and stuff, you know, just emailing artists and managers and being like, hey, can I open for you? And then also just random people reaching out to me and doing small shows that way. But yeah, it was kind of a lot of like doing research, honestly, like looking at what venue do I want to play. Like when I first moved here, I was like, okay, I really want to play at Baby's All Right. I've never played there before. And so I'd like go to their site and see who's playing and like see if someone that I could maybe open for is there, and if so, if they don't have like support announced yet, then I would email them and be like, hey, do you guys need an opener? And so I would kind of try to get gigs that way. And then it eventually got to the point where we were playing like so many shows. Like, I feel like, I don't know, sometimes we play like multiple shows a month pretty often, which now looking back on that, I'm like, we would never do that now, because it's like, I don't know, not the smart thing to do maybe, you know what I mean? Like, you don't want to like play too much in one city. But I think it was really important for like our development as a band and just getting the name out there, because I think the live show is like a really big part of what we do. I mean, obviously the recorded music is important too, but for me it's like a lot of it is about just playing live and having that experience.
Yeah, no, I've heard you say that a few times, and I think that's such a positive thing to have. Now you're just like touring all the time, and so for you to have that outlet consistently, hopefully just like keeps you inspired and like enthusiastic. I know at a lot of your shows, it's really like clear to see just how much your fans love you. And I feel like there's this thing where like you are so open to collaborating with people and like promoting your music, but doing like creative projects with people and just chatting, and whether it's in person or digital. And I feel like hand in hand with that is what I've noticed is a lot of like your fan base actually seems to be like empowered to really like create their own little things, whether it's a writing or a picture, a drawing of you. And so what's your experience like sort of receiving all these like creative little cool things from your fans? Because I know there's like a lot.
Yeah, it honestly makes me just really happy. Like sometimes I'll get videos of, people will send me videos of them playing guitar, and I'm like, this is amazing that, like music is what I love to do, and it's what makes me happy, and it's like what brings joy in my life. And so like if other people are able to get that somehow like through what I'm doing, then that's really special, I think. And same with like visual art and stuff too. I'm like, I'm so flattered that like you're inspired to draw a drawing of me. That's really great.
Yeah.
It's really sweet. Yeah.
No, there's gonna be a lot of people out there happy to hear that, because I feel like, yeah, again, it's just like they're inspired to like create around your music, which I think speaks to like the welcoming nature of it, which is so great.
For sure.
In addition to some of those like creative endeavors of fans, like your mom draws a lot of your cover art as of like most recent. And I've heard you before say that a big part of making music is to make yourself proud, make your parents proud. What's the relationship been like through your sort of solo career with your family supporting you and seeing like this growth, because you have grown so much and are doing so well? Like, what's that kind of been like, that support system?
Yeah, it's been really, like they've always been supportive of my music. And I feel like before, when I was younger, it was more as like an instrumentalist. Like they were supportive of me playing, piano when I was really young. And then when I switched to guitar, they immediately got me, when I wanted to play guitar, they got me guitar lessons right away. And then through high school and through college, they were always very supportive of me just doing music. Because my dad is a musician and my mom is an artist, I think that they both understand where I'm coming from. Like they're not the type of people that are like, you need to get a real job, Like they're just not like that. So I feel really grateful for that. And then as I've started doing more work as like an artist and a songwriter, I think at first there might have been a little bit of like, I don't know. I think that my parents said I was gonna be like a guitarist, which I am I still consider myself to be a guitarist first and foremost. But I think, it was a little bit of a shift from being like, oh, I'm like a session guitarist or like a, like a backing person essentially, versus being like an artist and writing my own music and releasing it, and that being like the main thing. There was like a shift there, I would say. And probably for them at first, they were like, not fully understanding what was happening, but I think now they understand that it's like worth it and like will hopefully be sustainable,
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. No, I feel like you, of course, like anyone, had to go through that period where you're solo and like sort of like starting out and have to just like have that faith. But I feel like knowing you at that time, like just your drive has been so consistent that it's like no surprise that you've ended up here. And in that same way, I always try to like squeeze this answer out of you, and I know it's tricky, but it's like you tour so much right now and you handle it like better than anyone I've ever seen. Do you think like at least your mom is like worried about how tired you might be, or like I'm just so curious like how you're so just easygoing with these like demanding tours and like one after another?
Yeah, I feel like, I don't know what it is. It's obviously tiring. Like it's really tiring to travel and do all of that. But I think the reason why I'm like able to not get too tired or like burnt out is because it is what I love doing. Like playing is what I love doing. So even if like the whole day I'm so tired, like I didn't sleep and whatever, I'm like car sick all day or something because I'm in the van. But then like once I get to the venue and I play this show, that like I feel like that revives me, and then I'm like ready to, keep going. So I think that's where my energy comes from, is just like just being able to play music you know, just keeps it keeps me from like getting too tired or burnt out, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a
Yeah.
beautiful thing. And I know that's the answer. I'm just still like so amazed. Back to Animaru, I know a lot of the recording happened at like a good friend's like beautiful farm property in Connecticut. What was that process like, and just having your whole band there, being able to like really like hunker down and focus?
Yeah, it was really nice. Like in the past, we've like the Kabutomushi EP, which is a project that we put out last year in April. We were all still living in different places, kind of like Ransom and my bass player at the time, Jaden, were still living in Boston, and then me and Claudius were here, and so we had to like record in different pieces. Like I would record my part first, and then drums and bass. We go to Boston, record drums and bass, and then come back and do strings. But doing it all together in the same space in the same period of time, I think really helped like produce more of like a live and raw sound for the album, which is what I wanted. Like I wanted it to really sound just like how we sound when we're playing together. Obviously there's like overdubs and harmonies and like we comped and all that stuff, but I think like the final product definitely sounds more live and more like we're all connected, you know what I mean? Because we were for like a week in the same
Definitely.
space.
Yeah, I know like confines on time, well, just not that strict, and such a beautiful space with all these like, it's like a studio built into a farm, which I actually took some footage of. It might include,
Yeah.
which I kind of forgot about, but I do have that.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah,
include
and
that would be.
I'll look at
cool,
that
actually.
soon.
Yeah.
That was such a cool time. What's sort of your perspective on this album and like your sort of journey in sort of like your ability to convey like these deep, deep emotions and like these very intricately like constructed arrangements? I guess that's two separate questions. First of all, like for you, how does this project symbolize your ability to like convey emotions? Is it more, is it less? You're in different places?
I think it's probably the same in the sense that like when I'm writing, I always just write for the most part whatever pops in my head, and then like I realize what the song is about maybe after the fact, you know, or like as I'm writing it, I find out what it's about. Like I don't like decide beforehand, if that makes sense. But I guess in terms of emotionally, I feel like a lot of the songs on Animaru are coming from like a very happy and like grateful place for the most part. I don't know, I think that's kind of coming through in the music in a different way than the Kabutomushi EP, which was like also some happy songs, but like maybe a slightly sadder tone as a project, whereas I feel like Animaru is like mostly happy in my mind. Like when I think it's happy, but people who listen to it might not necessarily interpret that way or whatever, and that's fine. People can interpret it however they want. But yeah, I guess that would be the main difference that I think of, yeah.
Was there a different sort of approach with you knowing it was gonna be a full-length album? Did you know it was gonna be a full-length album?
Yes, I knew it was gonna be a full-length album when I started writing it, just because, you know, that was decided for sure. But I wouldn't really say there was that much of a different approach. For me, it's just really just like writing songs or writing a song that I like. And then if I like it, then I'll record it, and then we record it, and then it'll be on the album. Like it's not really too much of like a concept beforehand or like any sort of like big plan. More just, yeah, just song by song. Like, do I like this song? And usually the answer is yes, because why would I write a song that I don't like, you know? And so then that just ends up being the album. And then like after the fact, I look at it and realize, oh, like there's kind of these overarching themes and like different, I don't know, motifs maybe that are like coming in throughout, but I don't really realize it until after, yeah.
Cool. I've definitely been curious, like right now with people making music right now, who are some people you've listened to and enjoyed? It could be the past 5 years or whatever, but just like who you really kind of resonate with and are inspired by.
Yes, definitely John Roseborough is a big one for me. He's kind of like probably the artist that I listen to the most that is like currently alive and making music, because most of the music I listen to is older. Aside from that, there's some Japanese artists that I've been enjoying, like Ichiko Aoba and Regal Lily, and then trying to think, past 5 years, there's like some modern jazz that I like Kurt Rosenwinkel and Ari Honig and stuff that are more recent as well. Yeah.
Very cool. Well, while we're here, let's talk about it. Your relationship with John and all the collaborations you've done, and your first recording, Waters of March, which did so well and everyone loved. Like, as that sort of happened for the first time, like meeting John and getting together, like, what was that like? Was it, I imagine, super satisfying? And I don't want to answer my own question, but can you just like take me through that sort of process and when you even became aware of John?
Yeah, so I think when I first became aware of him was when I was still at Berklee in Boston, and I think it was just like on Instagram. He followed me one day and then I followed him back because I was like, oh, he seems like a cool guy, cool music. And then I moved to New York after I graduated, and he was already here. I think he'd been living here for maybe a year or so before I moved here. And we decided to meet up in person since we had been like friendly on Instagram for a while. And yeah, from there I feel like when I first met him, I don't know if you have had this experience with John before, and this is not a negative thing at all, but sometimes I feel like when you first meet him, he's like kind of hard to get a read on, you know what I mean? Like you don't really know like what he's thinking exactly.
I didn't know he loved your music already, so that probably helped.
Yeah, I think that helped, but at first I was like, okay, I can't really tell like I just couldn't tell what he was thinking, you know? But then as I kept hanging out with him, I was like, oh, like we just got to know each other better, and now I consider him to be a really good friend. And yeah, I guess like at first we were just hanging out, and then he asked me to work on that song, Waters of March. We did that. It was super fun. I felt like when he asked me to do it, I didn't feel like I was like prepared necessarily to make a recording of that song, but I wanted to do it because I felt like it was like just like a good thing to do and like would be really special. It ended up being great. And then we've just been working on music together since every now and then and playing a lot of shows together and stuff.
Yeah. For me, that's just like the most incredible pairing like in music that I'm aware of, and just love both of you together so much. And I'm so thrilled for your all's tour together. How does this next tour like stand out? Is it your first headlining tour international?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
sorry.
No. Yeah. I mean, it's our first headline tour at all, and then yeah, there's a couple international shows. I mean, we're going to Canada, and then also doing Fuji Rock in Japan, and a couple other shows that haven't been announced yet, but that are also international. And yeah, I feel like, I don't know, I'm just really excited I feel like headlining is so important because it shows you, you know, like how many tickets you can sell essentially. Like that sounds maybe like dry or something, but it's like really important to know for the future of your touring, like, okay, like what size venue can we play in this city? And like, it helps for getting support slots and stuff like that too, of like having that information. So that, and then also I'm obviously just like really excited to be playing music. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. No, that makes so much sense. Like, this headlining tour for you is gonna provide a lot of clarity on just like basically like how far you've come and like how many people are showing up, and I have like such optimism for the tour, and I'm just so excited for you all.
Thank you.
One question I'm super curious about with you is like, and I know you probably don't even think this way, but if you could for just a second, like what moments in your music journey have sort of taken the most courage or like perseverance, would you say? Because I'm sure there's many.
I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is definitely like when I first moved here and was working full time and also trying to do music. Like that felt challenging for sure. Like I'm busy now, but when I think about like the way that I am busy, it's just so different than like the way that I was busy then, because it was like, yeah, just having to like work a shift. Like I'm not doing that anymore, which is really nice, but like having to work a shift and then after that trying to do music, it just felt hard to do. And yeah, I guess that's the first thing that comes to mind. I'm trying to think.
One more.
Yeah. One more. I don't know. I feel so lucky. I can't really think of How many challenges? I mean, this is kind of like a basic thing that I think everyone goes through in life, but just kind of like figuring out who you are and like who you want to be, like I feel like was another challenge that I faced musically and just as a person. Like, I don't know, I feel like in high school I went through definitely a rough patch, you know, as some people do in high school. And then I feel like in college I was able to just learn more about myself and like the type of person that I want to be. And in music as well, I think it was kind of like going through different phases until I found out, okay, like this is what the type of music that I want to make and like the type of artist that I want to be. And so yeah, I mean, I don't know if that's like a challenge, but more just like a process. You know? Yeah.
No, definitely. And like you saying that just, I think reminds me of your music and how it does, I think, have tones of like perseverance and hope and like withstanding hardship, which I think is such a great characteristic of it. I think like from my first moments of hearing your music, what I loved so much about it was that like I could hear a sort of like indie rock like through line, but then you take that and just expand it into so many like beautiful directions. How important is it for you that your music does expand in like stylistic ways and like through different influences?
I would say, I think that, yeah, I think I've been influenced by, I don't know if like indie rock, but then specifically like grunge, I guess, like Nirvana and the Smashing Pumpkins I listened to a lot when I was in middle school. Although I don't think my music like sounds like that, obviously, but I think I listened to it so like enough to the point where it has maybe seeped into my songwriting in some way in terms of like the melodies and like the chords and stuff. And then also like when I was at Berklee, I mean, not to generalize too much, but like all of my friends were making indie rock, you know what I mean? Like that was just like the type of music that people were making and are making now, and it's great. And I was just surrounded by that, and I think that probably had something to do with it too. Just, you know, I was like studying jazz, but like all my friends were like playing indie rock, so maybe that came together in some way, you know? And then in terms of like the importance for me of like blending different genres and stuff, I mean, I think it's really important to me because I think it is what, I guess, kind of makes the music like really distinct, is having all of the different influences is what I think makes it like special and unique. But I guess in general, the way that I think about it is like, I'm never being like, oh, I want to mix like math rock and bossa and it's gonna be so crazy. Like I'm not like thinking about it like that. I'm literally just like sitting down and writing a song that I like, and that's what comes out because that's the music that I like and the music that I listen to maybe. And so it's kind of just like a natural thing for me versus like it's not like super intentional, but it just comes out that way. And I'm really glad that it is like that because I don't know, I think it's interesting, you know?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think that's like one of my favorite things about your music and has been from the moment I heard it back in 2021 or something.
Yeah.
Okay, so by now, May's first full-length album, Animaru, will be out on all streaming services. Go listen to it. It's going to sound like everything May just described and better. But for now, just thank you so much for coming, May. I love like watching your growth in music, and every step of the way, I've just loved it so much. All the different sounds that have come into play, and your band taking a big role has just been such a beautiful, fun, positive thing to see. But yeah, I just love your music and you're a great person.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
No problem.